レクイエム。
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy ShoSaga with another video. Now, first of all, I want to talk about Hunter x Hunter because if I'm being honest, I'm surprised there isn't a lot of Hunter x Hunter games out now. Now, I actually know there's a Hunter x Hunter game, and I'm just gonna say Hunter from now on because, or at least try to switch it up because I don't want to keep saying Hunter x Hunter every 5 seconds. But basically, there is a game already for Hunter x Hunter. It's just, I think it's a PSP game and it never came out over here or something, if I'm not mistaken. But in this video, I want to talk about why I don't think there could be a Hunter x Hunter game, or if it is a Hunter x Hunter game, it couldn't be something that's more than like a fighting game. And then on the flip side of it, if there was a game, I could probably explain how they'll probably do it as far as that. And I've been hearing a lot of rumors that there is a game on the horizon. There was a lot of rumors going around that the CyberConnect 2 game that was going to be announced was going to be Hunter x Hunter. But obviously it's been radio silence on that front, so we don't know. But I actually seen a couple articles that said something about Hunter x Hunter getting a new game. Now they might have been talking about maybe like a phone game or something, because that's also in the realm of possibility. But with the series basically on hiatus for the foreseeable future, let's talk about why I don't see a game coming out right now. I don't see a game coming out right now because of this fact I just said. You know, the manga's on hiatus, and I think that maybe that's not the #1 reason, as I'll get to that in a minute. But just simply because I feel like a lot of the games, especially like phone games, need specific content to just kind of feed off of, you know. Generally, you don't really get a show that's really finished and done, doesn't really get a mobile game. Because they, you know what I'm saying, they need more characters. They need to be able to milk the characters that they got, and then, you know, be able to add the newer characters that you see in the show that gives you hype. It makes you want to spend more money. The second reason, and probably the main reason for me, is I feel like it would be too difficult of a game to make. Not necessarily difficult in the sense that, you know, it just couldn't be made. I just feel like it couldn't be made right, unless you had the right company behind it. You see, the thing about Hunter x Hunter is different from Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and, you know, not One Piece, or kind of One Piece, is that the power system of Nin is just in a whole other level. And let's go and run through a couple of game types and see what we think could work. Now, in a maybe create a character mission type thing, that could actually work, considering that the actual game, the goal of the game could be being a hunter. You can create your own character, but the problem is trying to create nin abilities, because the big thing in the show is that how people use their nin abilities to different like aspects, how they change it. And like Kirapika, for instance, you know, his whole vendetta against the spiders, so he strengthened his powers to make his dailiest power only available to kill and capture the spiders. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. If you want to kill something so bad, you would say you would put a restriction on yourself to, you know, make you focus harder, you know. And that in itself is me giving a bad explanation. But if you want to really be honest, how in the world would create a character game in that sense make it so that nin abilities feel like they feel in the show? They probably wouldn't be able to. You probably have basic enhancer powers or basic powers of the emitter or things of that nature. So create a character is pretty much out. If we want to move on to something like fighting is probably one of the best genres I could see this game being, just simply because even though I don't want necessarily another fighter, and as far as like the Hunter x Hunter goes, it's not all about the high octane action. There is high octane action and stuff. It's not all about the action. It's mostly about like the strategic way that they use their powers and abilities during the fight, and that's what really makes people you know, like the Royal Guards are very strong, but you know, it was really the way that the humans used their powers and used their abilities that made them a match for the ants. You know, that's what Hunter x Hunter is all about. So a straight up fighting game wouldn't really make sense considering all the complex powers and abilities. Now, the only reason why I think this is one of the scenarios where it could work, because if you've seen JoJo Eyes of Heaven, that game is a fantastic fighting game because it's just an interesting concept for a fighting game. And for one, they're able to use stands, which is another very complex power system. And that's also another show where it's basically based off of, you know, how efficient can I use my stand. You know, there are moments where your stand just becomes so overpowered that basically it doesn't matter what you do, you're not gonna win against it. But for the most part, they use their stands in very creative ways, and Eyes of Heaven is, I think, a great adaptation to like the anime when it comes to making a JoJo game, and I feel like they could definitely do something with Hunter x Hunter, simply because both of them require like strategic thought in some of their fights. Hunter x Hunter a little bit more, but I can see it working. Now, last but not least, let's talk about the adventure format. This is also another format that's good for the story of Hunter x Hunter, like the original created character thing would have been. And I feel like overall, this is probably the best concept of what we could actually, get, if we ever got one. Adventure is so broad because you have games like Kakarot, you have RPGs. I've honestly really would love a RPG with Hunter x Hunter, because that would actually evoke a sense of strategic thought in a way when battling against enemies, and that's something I really love, trying to figure out how to overcome this very powerful RPG boss, and you're using different creative ways to kind of come through, and I feel like that could really translate into Hunter x Hunter's medium. That could be something that could be really instrumental and making the game feel like I'm actually trying to use my brain to think of ways to knock out opponents or to kill opponents. And honestly, like I said, this is probably my favorite concept with Hunter x Hunter, just simply because it matches up so well, like an RPG adventure type game. With that being said, guys, would you want a Hunter x Hunter game? Even if you knew it necessarily couldn't go far, or maybe like have an original story, but like it's based around Takashi's writing, or Takashi has a hand in it. Like maybe he did like somebody the work for it. I definitely would. Honestly, I would probably play that, because in hindsight, there haven't really been many games for a series. This one that's held is probably like one of the best shonen of all time. So it definitely needs a game. With that being said, guys, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. Let me know what kind of Hunter x Hunter game you would want. Would you want one of the three concepts, like create a character, fighting, or adventure? Or would you probably make your own and just have a different concept? Let me know that in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next video.